All right, today, we're going to be diving into the Internet of Things, which we'll soon learn is a concept unlike any other in the world of technology today. So, to start off, what is the Internet of Things? The Internet of Things isn't so much describing the Internet itself or a specific device in things. Rather, the Internet of Things describes an all encompassing connection between devices in a common era or area that can connect, interact, compare, and trade for data to one another with little or no hassle. So this may include smartphones to televisions to speakers, speakers to wireless connecting devices, et cetera, et cetera. The options are truly endless. This concept recently in our age of technology has proven to be a true backbone of connectivity in what we can accomplish in terms of sharing, in terms of connecting to other devices, and connecting with friends, peers, associates, et cetera, et cetera. So, what devices exactly does this entail? As a whole, this might entail, as we said, smartphones, speakers, traffic lights, even as we see, security systems, and moreover, more and more today, over the last 4 or 5 years, dishwashers, appliances, thermostats, things of that nature have been used in the Internet of Things spectrum. But as a whole, we are developing more and more devices to fit this categorization. That includes drones, that includes, like we said, security systems, toys for kids now even are incorporating the Internet of Things, which is both an exciting and scary concept for all of those involved. So, to dive a little bit into the history of the Internet of Things, the term was first spawned by Kevin Ashton. Now, he was a professor at MIT giving a presentation for Procter and Gamble, and in this presentation, he wanted to, as best he could, incorporate a catchy name or title for the device that he was applying. And in that search for that term, he developed the Internet of Things, which in his era was much different from what we may associate in our era as the Internet of Things. This was 80s. This was far, far less advanced technology for the era of the cloud, for the era of smartphones, even the laptop computer as a whole. But as a whole, Internet of Things stemmed from the much simpler connection of any wired or electrical devices in the known world. So this would include, per se, telephone wires. This would include antenna televisions. This would include wired phones, all of the above. So the Internet of Things in that era was not nearly as wireless, per se, or as connected via cloud as we would say today. So the first appliance technically considered an Internet of Things device was a Coke machine in 1981. So over the last 5 years and really over the last 15 years, the growth of the Internet of Things cannot be undermined. Whether it's grown in different devices or industries, the growth has just been tremendous over the last 5 years. So we have 2015, we had 15.41 billion devices 15.41 devices per household. In 2016, 17.68. 2017, we're raising that by three, and by 2018, another three. We were on par by 2024 to have about 30 Internet of Things devices within each of our households. This number is truly tremendous if you include the entire American population, the entire state population, the entire city population. For more advanced cities, we'll have higher numbers than this. But as a whole, the number of devices will compound with every device that you add in. So say, for instance, a smartphone or smartwatch or smart TV is added into your Internet of Things device count. With that addition, there may also be another addition that is enabled by that same device. So say, for instance, a smart TV is enabled in your Internet of Things collection. Well, that may in turn be broadcasted onto your automobile or car, with a lot of streaming video services and TV services in that time. So, like we said, this will compound the more devices you get, which really leads to a tremendous growth in the overall industry. So right now, there are several companies based on the Internet of Things concept as a whole they've made a living off of this potential and this future growth that we're most definitely going to see. They offer a wide variety of business opportunities to small businesses, large businesses, and everything in between. This might include Intel, Skyworks, blockchain, are some more of the more notorious ones. Perhaps most notably would be Google. And when we speak of Google, we immediately think of free cloud. Free cloud from Google. That is, in essence, the best way we could describe in a single company or compound the Internet of Things. This right here, we can go to a multitude of devices that have internet connected and access our Google accounts. It is, in essence, the way to define what the Internet of Things has blossomed into. So, offering an interconnectedness among devices is what makes these companies profitable in the first place. So that's what makes Google profitable. Is you can access your Google account, your Google Drive, Google Slides, etc., from a variety of different devices, whether it's at home or at work. Intel, same processing system that makes all this possible, putting this into computers. That's all you would need for your Internet of Things to be fully compatible. And for Google as a whole, it's far succeeding the era of downloading Microsoft applications, downloading new software, buying new software. Just the cost, the burden, and the overall lack of accessibility from another device has made it decrease significantly. So as a whole, like we say, Microsoft, many competitors like that rely on software to be purchased may soon be left in the dust. A new era is approaching where Google and others are taking over in the cloud. So as we see, Intel, Skyworks, Google, Bitcoin, and Azure. It's worth noting Bitcoin, another one totally dependent on the Internet of Things. Bitcoin does currency transfers from different internet accounts, device to device. There's essentially no tracking on a Bitcoin account where Bitcoin is headed. It's a very interesting concept. It relies 100% on the internet, but again, does not require that software to be downloaded. Doesn't require physical exchange of currency in physical terms per se. So it's interesting to see where a Internet of Things currency may go in the future, like this. So how exactly does Internet of Things work? So Internet of Things is unique in the fact that there's no single governing body to control this concept, or organization to control just how these devices are implemented and accessed. So for instance, if one were to download a piece of software onto a computer from, say, an Apple Mac, and you rely on all the Mac's applications built into the hard drive, the governing body over that would, of course, be Apple. While the Internet of Things, this is where you go back to things on the cloud. There's no governing body for just how these devices interconnect with one another, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. There's little regulation, making ease of use very, very, very appealing. Could also attract criminal activity, but that's been few and far between in the world. So the reliance on individual companies is what drives the multiverse and cloud through day-to-day activity, and that is exactly where the companies profit off of. So the lack of a single owner makes it so where it is nearly impossible for the internet to completely collapse, if that were even possible. It's a great defense against hacking. When you've got that many different servers, inputs, and domains, it's nearly impossible for someone to, say, take down the whole internet. It would be completely unseen in our history. So to get a little more technical, the Internet of Things ecosystem consists of what we would call a web-enabled smart device. So a web-enabled smart device would essentially be any device that can carry internet on it and a connection to other wireless or wired devices from that device. So this would be essentially what one's Intel may provide. So say a Chromebook, say a Windows computer, a variety of laptops that Intel services. And so within these devices, sensors and communication hardware are there to collect the data that these devices transmit, that you put into these devices, and they can transmit that very easily into the outside world and put it onto a variety of varying devices. So say you type up a Word document on your phone, it would within seconds, or rather immediately, be transmitted onto the laptop that you could also work on. That's one of the major selling points of these devices, is they work completely without human intervention. Again, if you we're past the age of downloading software onto a computer, having to retain that from the computer, not being able to access it in other places, the cloud has been taking over. And obviously the human aspect comes into play for data retrieval. So